Hello, I'm Todd Duren. I'm a photographer and artist, and I'm here to talk about my exhibit, Captivating Spells, my photography exhibit here at the Marx Library here at University of South Alabama. So I'm inspired by beauty, and when I was a young artist I made work that was very kind of ironic and obtuse and in lots of different media, but about 3 years ago I took up photography again, and I found some friends who were willing to pose in front of the camera, and gradually over time I kind of relearned all of the lessons of, or at least some of the lessons of photography, of lighting and lenses and exposure and that sort of thing. And gradually I sort of had this notion of goddesses. Goddesses that would be inspired by like ancient Greek goddesses, and settings that would be outdoors, that would be like very kind of natural settings. And so my wife Karen and I have a good friend, Kiera, who is actually here in one of this was, I think, the first successful shoot that she and I did. And I had this idea in mind of a goddess who would be in the water and wearing dresses and flowing fabric and that sort of thing. And so this was taken at Chickasaw Park, and Kiera was a real trooper. She didn't tell me until halfway through the shoot that she was afraid of water, and right in this photo she's looking so serene, and she's standing on this really mucky bottom. And I think right after I took this photo she started to try to walk, and one of her feet sank all the way in, and it was really kind of awkward and strange. But I wanted to kind of include water from all around South Alabama. So we have some creek scenes, and this is almost like a little lake that's over to the side of the creek itself. And then Cindy here is also at Chickasaw Creek in a larger kind of a beach area. And we have, Dauphin Island and several different locations around Baldwin County. I was really interested in, flattering lighting, and one of those lessons from photography 1 that I had to relearn is that you have to get up early if you're a photographer to get really good photos, or you have to shoot late in the evening at the golden hour. And if you shoot in the middle of the day, if you've ever shot photos outside on a bright sunny day, you know what I'm talking about. It's difficult to get good clean lighting that doesn't have strong shadows in the eyes and that sort of thing, kind of harsh lighting. So I think we shot these photos kind of early in the morning, as I said, we shot in different locations. So I'll show you a few more of the photographs here. So this model is shot at Dauphin Island, and one of the challenges was to try to find a natural scene that didn't have, buildings in the background or cars or parking lots. And this is a narrow strip of beach that's near Fort Gaines. It's kind of between Fort Gaines and the public beach that's kind of around behind Fort Gaines. And so we shot there, and the sea oats were really nice, and the lighting was good. And one of the things that I learned from some photographer friends of mine is that I was shooting a lot of photographs. On average, I probably would shoot 15 photographs for every one that I would use, maybe more than that, maybe 20 or 30 on some days on an unlucky day. So I had to have a lot of different sort of scenarios and poses in mind, because I knew that once I found a model that was adventurous enough to lie down in a dress on the beach or to wade in the swamps of Chickasaw Creek, I wanted to get as many usable photos out of that as I could. My friend Cindy here, she was posing with her daughter. I mean, they're in separate photos, but her daughter is up in the first photo there, and she was a really good sport because she even completely immersed herself in the water, so her hair's wet and everything. I had some other models that when I asked them to get their hair wet, they just looked at me like, no, that's not going to happen. I've spent too much money on these braids and I'm not getting them in the water. That's not going to happen. And somewhere I have a photo right over here is Kiera giving me just that look. And I actually loved how the photo turned out, but I didn't really think about it until later. And I said, I like the way you were kind of spreading your braids out in the water. And she said, I was trying to keep from getting sand in them. So this one also is shot at Dauphin Island. Tyra, this model, this one we actually took a boat and did a photo shoot. And this is over in Baldwin County, and I'm trying to think of the name of the creek and I can't remember it just now. But one of the challenges, because we were shooting in the bright part of the day, was to find some open shade or some dappled sunlight, because if you get out in the harsh sunlight, the model's gonna be all squinty, and you're gonna get very overexposed highlights and very kind of dark shadow areas. So I kept kind of moving her. She's standing in this on this kind of muddy bottom, and I had her just move a little bit this way and a little bit that way until we got the shaft of sunlight that hit her just perfectly. And she's a beautiful young woman, and then she had this idea of this kind of crown of flowers that she wore herself. And I like that idea so much that I'm thinking about doing more work with props like that, crowns and scepters and things like that. Now I have another photo here, and Bridget is the model here, and this is probably the most ambitious thing that I ever asked a model to do. I said, so Bridget, I want you I had this photo already in my mind. I said, you've got to put your face halfway in the water and leave your nose right on the surface. She wore contact lenses. She didn't even mention that to me. So in this photo, it's a good thing we have reflection and that you're not looking down in the water, because you would see her holding one eye shut under the water so that her contact lens doesn't float out. And I think we did 4 or 5 different shots before she was able to hold the pose, get the expression that we were looking for, and I was able to basically get the shot. But we had a lot of fun. And I remember when she finally got it, she's a really kind of vivacious personality, and she was jumping up and down and doing a victory dance that we'd finally gotten the photo. And I was really pleased with that one, because catching a catch light is what photographers call it. That glint in the eye is sometimes it's a detail, but it's a really important detail to get that little bit of light in there. And that was a little bit of a challenge, and I was shooting entirely with natural light, so without a flash to kind of pop that little bit of light into the eye, it's a little bit of a challenge. You all can come on through. Let's see, so moving on down the hallway, we've got a few other photos. Let's see. So this photo was taken in Pensacola, and this model was really helpful and super creative, and we did a lot of collaboration about poses, and she actually found this stump and struck this pose completely by herself, and I just think it turned out really, really well. And we started shooting this day early in the morning while it was still dark. And then we had to drive over to this other beach that she knew of where these stumps were, and the sun was starting to come up. And you can tell that by this time it's probably between 8 and 9 in the summertime, and the sun's up kind of high. But I managed to get some good photos before it got to be too bright. That's one of the reasons why she has her eyes shut, because I couldn't get that good, nice, flattering lighting on the eye. So she just kept her eyes shut the whole time in that photo. And then here she is again in a swimsuit. This is a little earlier in the morning as the as the sky's starting to brighten up, and this one turned out really nicely too. She picked up this stick that she was holding kind of like a staff, like she's like a warrior goddess or something, and she has this really fierce expression and the feather earrings, and I just like the way that turned out. I remember that I think when we did the shoot there was a storm warning. There might have even been a hurricane brewing out. This has been 2, maybe 3 years ago. A hurricane brewing out in the Gulf. So it made for really dramatic skies. We've got nice clouds here and lots of waves here on the beach. So I was really happy with how that turned out. So we have several others as well. Let's see, I can walk down and show you a few more. This photo, my friend Kiera has her hair tied back and she's wearing this great gold lame dress. I did a lot of thrift store shopping and found dresses for the model, so I think this dress cost me all of $5. But I knew that I wanted something with that shine to the fabric, and the dress fit Kiera, and it was a very small size, like a size 2. So this one turned out really well. And this one is just across from the boat ramp at Dauphin Island, and she's sitting on this log, and I just liked her expression. She looks really thoughtful and kind of serene. And then across the hallway here, this is my lovely wife Karen, and she was kind enough to pose and do a shoot with me as well. And I really like the way that the dress looks and the reflection in the water, and then she's got a great kind of expression and pose as well. So yeah, one of the things that is a little bit of a challenge when you're shooting water is those reflections. That's what makes the photo look nice but it doesn't work well when the sun is up really high. You have to do it when the sun's fairly low, so that you get these kind of deep, rich greens and these mottled kind of light and dark shapes. And then you have to pay attention that you're not in the reflection. You know, you don't want the photographer to be in the reflection. So we shot quite a few that day, and I think I ended up with 2 from that shoot that I especially liked. This is our friend Jess, and this photo was shot from a small bridge, and so that's why it has kind of this unusual point of view. By the time I shot with Jess, I think I'd been shooting lots and lots of, eye-level portraits, and I wanted to do something a little different. And we were over on one of the tributaries of Dog River. It's called Rabbit Creek over in Mobile, and there's a small bridge there that's maybe 10 feet off of the water. So I could walk out onto the bridge, and she got down into the water, and I was able to shoot her kind of looking up and fill the image with water. And she also is in a shadow. So this was also shot at a very bright time of the day, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is normally the worst time to do outdoor photography. In this photo, I was trying to find open shade. Open shade is the perfect kind of lighting for shooting outdoors because the light's not as harsh. And when I was first learning photography, I thought you needed a lot of light. And so I was always trying to get out in the bright sunlight, but you don't get flattering lighting that way. And the models usually have a kind of a squinting expression. So this was kind of in the shadow of the bridge itself. And so we get this nice soft kind of lighting on her face and her features that I thought turned out really nicely. So we have a few more down here, and I've got several more, but I think I'll talk about this one. This is another photo of the same model, Jess, and we had shot all around the Rabbit Creek Dog River area. I had a small boat, and we went past this little cove that was completely shaded over with weeping willows and trees, and so it was very shaded, but it had this kind of brightly lit field in the background. And again, With sunlight coming through the trees, you want to position the model so that you don't have some distracting streak of light or some weird shadow on their face. And there is just this little shaft of light on her forehead there, but I just thought it turned out really well. And a lot of times you can, when you're working with beautiful models, I don't have anything to do with that. They're just beautiful already. God made them that way. And so that makes my job a little bit easier, but I'm always looking at the background and what else is behind them and thinking about focus and exposure and all those things. And so I just really liked how this turned out with the trees kind of blurred and out of focus, and her face in nice sharp focus. And I like her expression too. The way that she's kind of cutting her eyes to one side is really nice. So I have several more photos here, but I think that's probably enough comments from me. I appreciate everybody coming out for the reception today. Hope you enjoy the rest of the photography. Thank you again to University of South Alabama and to Paula Webb. I appreciate it.